buckle up for this as the WNBA turns. Syd Colson and Aliyah Boston were involved in a conversation with Candace Parker. It's Aliyah Boston and Candace Parker's podcast. And if you listen close to what they're saying, they're talking about gay players versus straight players and who dominates the WNBA. And they left Caitlin Clark out of this conversation in a way that insinuates that she's gay. Maybe it was accidental, but I don't believe you can make this kind of an accidental mistake, particularly when there's two Indiana Fever players that, and Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston are really close. I don't know what the deal with Syd Colson was. She was there for a little bit this season, but let's play the clip.
Okay. Next question. This is from @XXX_I'm dope. Someone said we should have a gays versus straight all-star. Who are you drafting?
Wait, gays who are out? Or what y'all... out gays or
yeah,
just
no. Let's
or
keep
who
it
out?
as the
Okay.
out gays before you start.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna out. I'm not gonna
You're
out
talking
nobody.
about people catching strays.
Please, I beg.
Yeah. I mean, well, we've got most of the league. I mean, y'all
That's what I'm
can
saying.
see who you.
It's like the
We
dream
got-
team. It's like the
see
dream
who you
team
can-
versus.
Right. I don't know who y'all are choosing,
Those
baby. I
are
can
actually
think of
not
like
even
4.
funny.
Yeah,
Aliyah with the number one
Assemble.
pick.
Straight
The
assemble.
straight.
Right.
Let's go.
And all of a sudden,
on,
Aliyah and
ladies.
Sabrina Ionescu are teamed up against the entire rest of the league.
Right. You
And
got like
Nafisa
you
Collier.
two, right? Nafisa, Asia, and I don't know. Y'all need a fit.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
that don't.
Let's go find a fifth.
You know what? Next question, Candace. Ask the
Alicia
next
Gray.
one.
They did not mention Caitlin Clark. And that's hard for me to think that's an oversight or they just forgot. Then all the laughing. I don't, maybe I'm reading too much into this. I need feedback from you all. Hop in the comments, hop in the chat, send me an email at fearlessblazeshow@gmail.com. I'm being dead serious here. That seemed to be a clear trolling potential outing of Caitlin Clark. How Caitlin Clark is the preeminent name in the WNBA. They don't have a podcast without Caitlin Clark. Aliyah Boston, Syd Colson just played with Caitlin Clark and experienced the Caitlin Clark effect. And so when they start talking about straight players and they never mention Caitlin Clark and they mention Sabrina Ionescu, they mention Asia Wilson, they mention Nafisa Collier, they mention Aliyah Boston, but no Caitlin Clark. This, at the least, or my instincts is like, this is an unintentional or maybe an intentional pot shot at Caitlin Clark. This is using Caitlin Clark for clout, clicks, traction, interest. Or maybe there's something we don't know. Because I have certainly said the game plan for Caitlin Clark that's been hatched by the WNBA and why Stephanie White was brought in to groom Caitlin Clark. And I've walked you through how Caitlin Clark or how Stephanie White has the exact same background as Caitlin Clark. Grew up in a little small town in a flyover state called Indiana. I'm talking about Stephanie White. Set that little town she was in, South Lebanon or Lebanon, whatever, Lebanon, Indiana, set it on fire. Her little basketball team going all the way to state final. Then goes to Purdue. Sets Purdue's women's basketball program on fire. Wins a national championship at Purdue. Marries her high school sweetheart, a male, while at Purdue. goes to the WNBA, kind of flames out, but gets turned out, drops her boyfriend or drops her husband, and goes gay. This is what I've said has been the game plan for Caitlin Clark. I'm rooting for Caitlin Clark. I've been protective of Caitlin Clark while occasionally being critical of some of her behavior. But they've had a plan, in my view, for they want to strip Caitlin Clark of her Christian values. They want to strip Caitlin Clark of her heterosexuality. And now we've just had, and there, Aliyah Boston has no bigger fan than me. I really like Aliyah Boston. I like her personality. I like the way she carries herself. I like the way she presents herself. How feminine she is does not bother me because other people, oh, she needs to protect. She needs to be an enforcer. She's too big to play. She's very consistent. She's got a very feminine energy, a very girl next door energy. I don't know how she participated in a conversation that clearly insinuated, in my view, that Caitlin Clark is a switch hitter at the very least, potential, the way they discussed, gay. They either owe Caitlin Clark an apology or they just outed Caitlin Clark. And I want to take you back to, again, why I think they owe her an apology unless things have changed or I don't, but I wanted to go back to the Commissioner's Cup or that tournament they played in early season in the WNBA where they won that title. They won that game. Caitlin Clark didn't play, but they won that midseason tournament, had the celebration inside the locker room, and Syd Colson, with Caitlin Clark bent over in front of a camera, simulated she was backdooring Caitlin Clark. And Caitlin Clark told her there'll be none of that. And to quiet down or, don't do that. And I said in real time when this happened, I was like, hey man, if someone did this to a guy in a locker room, or a guy did this to a girl in a locker room environment, there would be a real controversy here. But this happened and it was ignored. And it was one of those deals where I was like, you see the environment Caitlin Clark exists in? You see the pressure she's under? And now they're sitting on a podcast insinuating that Caitlin Clark is gay. WNBA, man, it's toxic. I don't know if it can be fixed. They, in my view, and maybe this will be ignored, but they just really damaged Caitlin Clark's girl next door brand. Someone owes Caitlin Clark an apology, or someone just told on Caitlin Clark. You be the judge.